Good evening, everyone. It is, wow, April 17th already. Hope you filed your taxes because some people had an extension. I know we did here in Massachusetts. I think Maine did also. We are starting a couple of minutes late because we have two issues. Randy's having a little bit of technical difficulty in the hotel. He is actually in Jackson Center, Ohio, doing some Airstream training. So I'm hoping that he's going to click in here pretty soon, but I've got him in my other ear and it doesn't seem to be bothering the frequency of the computer. So I am on here and appreciate those that are on already. John he had a prior family engagement. He was going to try to make it. That looks like that wasn't going to work out because he's down in New York City. So right now you have got me and I've got you, and we will start the show and hope that Randy can join us here and make it beneficial. We got quite a few people on here already, which we certainly appreciate. So what have we been doing all week? More videos. Had a good chance today to do Airstream of Nashua and also Route 125 RV and Marine. And our show tonight, we're in the third week of our contest, so if you haven't entered the contest yet, please do so. It's on our Facebook page. Yeah, Walter Swin says it's the Bob Show. It may only be the Bob Show, Walter. We'll see how Randy does. And Al Jackson's on from north of Boston. Mark Polk is on. Hi, Mark. And what'd you think of that Mustang birthday today, Mark? For those of you who didn't catch my post earlier, the Mustang was 55 years old today. Lee Iacocca's brainchild with Ford that revolutionized the auto industry back in 1964. I was probably right in the middle of finishing up my tour of duty in Italy and heading off to my tour of duty in Turkey when that came out. So I had to wait a couple of years to see it. Ed's in from Billerica. We appreciate that. So like I say, we did a couple of videos this week. We're all done with the consumer shows. If you watched our Facebook page this week, you saw that we have a lot of campgrounds opening up now and getting ready. So when we get into our Making Memories in May videos, we're going to try to get out to some of these campgrounds and show you what they're up to. A lot of them have got some new features this year. So check what we've been posting up on the campgrounds themselves to see what's out there. And if you happen to have a unique campground that you go to, that you really like, if you want to send me an email, and I'll put my email up here for you, and send me what that campground may be, then we will try to get out and do a video on it like we did last year. So let me stick that up there so that you can communicate with me through that end of it also. So I'll take some questions from the audience while we have a chance and while we wait to see if Randy's going to be able to come in and join us tonight for his spring checklist, getting ready. And if you've listened to Randy at some of the consumer shows, we had him in Boston, he was in Hartford at Mohegan Sun. This was one of the seminars that he did. Mohegan Sun, it was the Bob and Randy show. It was just him and I doing seminars down there. So let's see if we have no questions on there. Okay, in a little bit of motorhome news, for those of you that didn't see it, Rapido out of France was the high bidder on the Road Trek assets. They apparently are not taking any of the assets of Heimer North America. They won the bidding sweepstakes with the courts up in Canada, and they are going to be building them in one of the two factories that Road Trek had, and probably the newer of the two. And there is a word on the street, although we have not seen it officially, but there is word on the street that they will be honoring the Road Trek warranties. And so that's the good news for people that have Road Treks. It's also good news for dealers that have Road Treks in stock, because there's a lot of dealers that got kind of hung out to dry. Hello, Mike Perry. Mike joined us on time this week. That's good. That must mean he's probably home and not traveling this week. So as I explained at the top of the show, Mike, we got a couple of issues tonight. Randy's still having some technical difficulties in his hotel out in Jackson Center, Ohio, where he's doing some Airstream training. And John had a prior family commitment in New York today, and he was going to try to get it, but I said, you can afford to take a week off. So he's I don't think that we're going to be hearing from John tonight. So we'll take any questions that folks have that we can do it. You're in New Jersey, Mike. Okay, that's right. I did see something about you heading down to New Jersey. Walter brings up a good point too. There's new construction starting at the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame for their first expansion stage. And this is a very interesting expansion because in the long-term plans for the Hall of Fame, if you were facing it from the highway, the big field on the left was all grass and mulch. They've been adding mulch every year for probably the 8 years of the dealer open house week. And they've made a special arrangement with Thor. And Thor is, 1 second, Randy says, do you see me in your window? I do not see you yet, Randy. I'm just looking here. So if it tells you that you're logged in, I would probably reboot and see if that does it for you. So you're probably getting close. But going back to the Hall of Fame, the field to the left is now going to be, that was going to be a rally park in the next 5 years or so. But Thor has stepped up. They've made an arrangement with the Hall of Fame that they're going to pave that rally park and build the pavilion on the side. So if you're in the trade and you've been going to the Hall of Fame, you know that if we get rain on that side of the building, well, actually we get rain in Elkhart, that particular side of the building gets pretty mushy. And they've just been adding more mulch every year, not taking it out and not solidifying the base underneath. So what we will have by September is that entire area will be paved for the rally campground, and we'll have a new pavilion, so Thor will not have to put up that tent. So that's going to go a big step forward to enhancing the dealer participation and the positive aspect of the Thor display out there. Also at the Hall of Fame this year, there will be 102 supplier exhibits. Now, they did have some supplier exhibits further down on Executive Drive last year, but an Elkhart Dealer Open House is only a trade event, so it's not open to consumers. But they've opened up the Hall of Fame Convention Hall in the back, and they're going to have 102 people, 102 suppliers that are going to be on hand there. And some of them are, okay, we got Randy. Randy, how you doing? How you doing, Randy? Can you hear me?
And sorry, I had my mic down, so I didn't screw your show up.
Well, it helps to turn the mic on. So, one of the best technicians in New England has figured out how to do the hotel stuff, and glad to have you.
I became a technician because I was not very great at computers, as I just proven.
Well, I appreciate you joining us tonight because tell us what you're doing out in Jackson Center, beautiful downtown Jackson Center. Tell them what Jackson Center.
So if you've never been to Jackson Center is blue buildings, and they just put in the second stoplight in the employee parking lot so people could get out onto the main street. The population of Jackson Center dives down by about 2/3 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the employees all leave the manufacturing plant here at Airstream. We're out here this week. I brought Zach Perry and myself. We're out here doing some training to maintain our 5 rivet status with Airstream.
What exactly is 5 rivets? Because I know there's more than 5. I know there's more than 5 rivets in an Airstream.
3,000 on average. So there's about 22 5 rivet country out of all the Airstream dealers, and it's something that it kind of sets us apart from many of the other dealers because we've done some things and we've achieved some criteria that they require, but most of it is because of the customers. So when we sell an Airstream, we obviously have to register it like any other camper with a manufacturer. But Airstream takes it another step. They actually contact the customer with a questionnaire. And if we get a certain percentage of customers getting back to them with a questionnaire filled out with good report about the dealer, Airstream allows you to get on this 5 rivets list. You also have to have a website and maintain a certain amount of part inventory so you can move product quickly and take care of customers. But most of it is the customers coming back to Airstream telling them that these guys are doing a great job for us, and we want them to be a 5 rivet dealer. So we're really proud of our status, and we work very hard to keep it.
That's great. That's great. Well, you know, as you see on the top there, you know, I watched your seminars for the last few years and have seen you do this particular seminar, and it's always well attended. And we kind of joke about it every week, Randy, when we do the show, that although we've got a lot of education in this industry and we have a lot of complexity in this industry, that and you have it with your seminars, I have it with mine. No matter what we teach them, there's people in that audience that don't have a clue what we're talking about, and they've never heard it before. Even some of the stuff that we'll go over that you do tonight, and you know, the industry has to work on that a little bit better, because we have to manage the customer's expectations. We have to let them know what's going on. So, give me a couple of comments on that.
Yeah, so like I take a lot of phone calls in the service department over the last 20 years and just talk to a lot of customers. And a lot of them asking a lot of the same questions, and questions that we felt that the customers should know. And that's what kind of prompted this seminar for us. It was just like, you know what, we really feel we work really hard educating our customers with the videos and, you know, teaching them at the dealership and doing a good orientation, things like that. But I was hearing it from people outside of Pete's RV, and it was really important to myself and ownership at Pete's RV, Todd, Chad, and Scott, that we educate the public. We want to educate the people on, you know, how to use and how to properly maintain these coaches of theirs. And so it's been something that's really high priority for us. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing the show circuit with you. I think we're going to be doing more of it here this summer. Yeah, that's what prompted this. Just the education of the customers, answering the questions that should be answered, the people should know.
Well, let's jump in. I'm going to drop those two charts down, and I'm going to bring up this, and I hope I got these pictures in order, Randy, because
we'll punt.
well, we did real well punting in the first few minutes, so if we have to punt at the end, that's fine too. Tell us about installing the batteries after the winter. It's been a long winter. We've been fortunate. We have not had we down here in the Boston area, and I think you guys were a lot worse, and I know Maine got hit pretty well this year, but we had a non-winter here. But talk about installing the battery after the fact.
So hopefully everyone took their battery out of their camper for the winter months, because batteries even hooked up to a camper in the summer months will go dead in a short amount of time unless the battery is disconnected. So I'm hoping everybody was educated enough or told by their dealer, take the battery out of the camper, make sure it's fully charged, store it in the basement, put it on a piece of plywood or something like that. And that way you're going to have a good battery that's not going to sulfate. If you can hit it with a tender over the winter months, we want to make sure we do that. That way the battery is going to have the same amount of storage capacity as it did when you took it off the camper. So when we go to put it back on, we want to make sure that we put it back on appropriately. And there's no color codes in the RV world like there is in the car world. So sometimes identifying which wire is what, especially if I'm talking to an auto mechanic where black is always ground and not so much in the RV world where white is typically our ground. Sometimes hooking up a battery can be a tall order for a customer.
Interesting. You know, John had a situation just a while back. He took his motorhome out last week, and his coach batteries were dead. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have a trickle charge on it. And he thought he was going to have to buy new batteries. But when he took it over to the service center, they said and it was dead. I mean, they were dead. But they said just fill it up with water and recharge it again, and it'll be okay. And it appears to be. So I hadn't heard that before, but is that true of everything, or was he just lucky?
So the service center probably didn't give him the best information. Once a battery is sat around at low levels, and what I mean by low levels is below 10.5 volts for a long period of time, especially with low water levels in them, that battery is not going to have the same amount of storage capabilities as it did once before. Will you still be able to get a charge into it and it'll still store a little bit of power for you? Yes, but it's not going to have the same capability to store as much power as it once did. So real important that you maintain those batteries. If you leave them in your coach, like in a motorized situation, I want to see you go out there and start that coach and let it run for a half an hour once a month. Get those batteries topped off, run the generator. Make sure we keep all the seals wet there. We keep fuel moving through the carburetors and things like that. But real important, if you're leaving your batteries in a motorized situation like what you and John have, get out there and run that thing once a month, at least for a half an hour, probably even better. On a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, let's take them out and bring them inside. Make sure they're fully charged before we do remove them. put them on a bench charger to fully charge them after you remove them if you want to go that route, and then bring them in the house and hit them with a tender once a month if you can.
Yeah, so John was probably lucky. I think he took it out just for an overnighter last weekend and probably survived. But as Walter says, it'll go dead much quicker. So he's probably still he was lucky last weekend. He got it going, but he's probably going to have to replace the batteries.
I would say if he wanted to get some more longevity, if he's plugging in all the time and he's just using 12-volt power when he's rolling down the road, he'll probably be just fine because he's not relying on that stored power. But if he's going to do anything off generator or off the grid, he'll probably want to replace those batteries to get any longevity out of them.
Yeah, he does more touring and parking lots and casinos and stuff than campgrounds. So I think he's got some investments coming. All right, let me pick.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't put all your pictures up, but I put kind of.
One of the other things I talk about on the batteries, Bob, is that removes the battery. Let's take a picture of it before we remove it. That way we can go back and retrieve that picture and hook it back up appropriately. I also recommend, if you're anything like me, you've got 15,000 pictures on your phone, print the picture and put it in the camper. That way you know exactly where that picture is in the springtime when it's time to rehook up that battery. And then you can get that back on there. If you have not done that, your ground wire is going to be hooked to the frame of the trailer. So if anything hooked to the frame of the trailer is going to go on that negative bar, and anything with a fuse on it, we don't fuse ground wires. We only fuse positive wires that will go on the positive side of the battery.
Okay. All right. Ronnie Layberger joined us from Bradford RV. And
hey, Ronnie.
They're developing a nice team down there, him and Ray and Brad and a few other guys. So roof seals, always a hot topic because, as we all know, RVs never leak.
So I am, and you've heard my seminars. This is probably one where I dive in the most because if you could say, Randy, recommend one maintenance item to do to my camper. If I could only do one, this would be the one. Probably 80% of the water damage I find in campers when I'm doing trade inspections, when people are trading campers in, or when they come in with problems, it stems from the roof area. And the reason why this is such a disconnect in the RV world is the sales guy, when you buy the RV, he tells you that the roof's got 12-year warranty. And he's not lying to you. The rubber roof material absolutely has a 12-year warranty on it. And it's great stuff, and it works wonderfully for our industry. It's pliable, it takes the weather, and it's really good stuff if properly taken care of. Everywhere we have a penetration in that roof, i.e. those pictures that you're showing right now, or where the front pylon or metal meets the rubber roof on the front and the back of the camper, we have what we call lap sealant. And what the lap sealant does is it chemically bonds to the rubber material on the roof. But you can see here, the picture that you were just showing is actually a shower dome on a roof, and these pictures are worst case scenarios. This one here is where the front pylon meets. We can see that has not been maintained. So under warranty, the manufacturers want you to check it twice a year, and if you do not, and a leak arises under your warranty period, they can probably come back at you if you haven't visually checked these twice a year. So get up on those roofs spring and fall. Do a visual inspections of all the roof seals. I've got videos that show you exactly how to treat it and take care of it and clean it and apply the new. You can see the lap sealant over here. This is what we want to use. We don't want to use any caulking. We don't want to use silicones. It needs to be the right product for the right job. But get up on those roofs, inspect the seals, make sure there's no cracking. Usually happens around year 2 or 3 as the sealant starts to dry out a little bit from being in the sun and exposed through the winter months. But do check those. And if you're uncomfortable getting up on your roof or you're not sure about it, bring it to your local dealer and have them do it. Just super, super important that these seals get maintained if you want to keep water out of your camper.
Super. I've got to do a commercial.
Sure.
So before I do that, this is the spot where John usually jumps in, and we request people to share the show. Look down below on your thing and share it with Facebook and make it so that we get a little bit viral with this. If you don't know how to do that, check down and it'll do it. It'll show you how to do that. Also, a sponsor this week, we have a contest going for the next, it's going to be a 9-week period. We've already gone the first 2 weeks. Our sponsor this week is Flag RV in Uxbridge and West Boylston, Mass. And what you can see on the screen is the one on the left is the West Boylston office and their parts and accessory store. The one on the right is the Uxbridge facility, which is now solar powered for everything that they have down there and their parts and accessories. So you enter the contest right here on our Facebook page. and the winner gets a $100 gift certificate to be spent either in the parts and accessory store of Flag RV or the service department, or you can help put it towards your down payment on a brand new RV. So we want to thank Flag RV for being our sponsor this week, and we appreciate that. So back to Randy Murray, and we'll go to sealant caps, Murray. Randy, how is that? Let me see. Sealant caps. Okay. Talk about that.
Yeah. Sealant gaps are another area where water can enter our coach. And this is typically done on the sidewalls or the front of the back cap. And it's, again, everywhere we have penetrations, i.e. doors, compartment doors, windows. We can see here we have a water fill. We've got a refrigerator, venting. So lots of different places where the manufacturer has put penetrations in the side of the coach and to allow us to have fixtures there. But we need to maintain those sealant gaps too. So as coaches get used and moved, I mean, can you imagine putting some wheels and putting an A-frame on your house, Bob, and taking it down the road?
No.
And that's exactly what we're doing every time we haul our RVs. They joke about it in the industry about being a 3.5 earthquake on the Richter scale every time we pull our RV. So things move around. I expect sealant to open up a little bit. I live in a log cabin, so if you want to talk about sealant, I've got more sealant than anybody on my house. But on the side of our RVs, we have caulking over these penetrations. And usually there's some butyl tape behind it, so there's a couple ways to stop the water. Time need out and open up and need to be maintained appropriately. So I recommend just walking around your coach, maybe grab a couple of adult beverages or put a game on or something like that. And when you're out at the campground, just be religious about walking around and looking. If you're proactive about looking rather than waiting for water to enter the coach, you're going to save yourself money and you're going to add value to your coach when you go to trade it in. So check all those penetrations, look over the doors. And again, if this isn't your forte, like computers are not mine, as I've proven here tonight, get out, bring it to your local dealer and make an appointment and give them an hour to look around the coach and touch up any sealant gaps. And when I mean sealant gaps is like over this water fill, you can actually see a gap in the sealant between the device and the sidewall of the coach. So make sure roof seals are number one, sealant gaps are number two.
Yep. One of the things that always bugs me, and we got some great comments and some good users on here. Walter says, never use the silicone, please. Susan Carpenter, thanks for joining, Susan. Susan's in charge, or president of the new RV Women's Alliance, which we're going to be doing a reception. So Randy, all those young ladies that you got up at Pete's RV, you got to let them know about the RV Women's. We're going to be doing a cocktail reception here. And Susan, I haven't even sent the email out yet, but I've got the third member of the committee, so I'll send you tonight who the three women are going to be working on it in New England. But Susan says, it helps not to use the cheap foreign knockoff products. They get brittle and crack. That's true. And Greg Bidowitz, Greg comment go. Greg Bidow says, dealer had my... I hate to see stories like this, but we cover everything on this show, the good, the bad, the ugly. Dealer had my unit all winter for what should have been a quick repair. They never disconnected the battery. It was toast. Well, I hope that dealer gave you new batteries, right, Randy?
So some of that is on the dealer, some of it's on the customer. We used to unhook every battery as it came in the lot, and we ruined a lot of food and refrigerators. So talk to your dealer and talk to the service writer, the service manager, and we like to take care of our customers. So definitely, it's a case by case basis for sure. But if somebody had your coach longer than anticipated, I'm sure they'll work with you.
Great. All right, Al Jackson, love Flag RV, very stand-up group. Shane sold me latest cottage, Cedar Creek Cottage. I think that's a destination camper, I assume, on that. Al says, what's the best way to remove the old sealant?
Good question. So you had somebody mention don't use the cheap knockoff stuff and don't use silicone. Go to your local dealer and find out what they recommend. Typically, they're going to carry products that pertain to the products they have on their lot, their rolling stock. They've done the research. They're using stuff made for the RV industry. Just because it says it comes in a tube and you can put it in a caulking gun and push it and get some stuff out of it doesn't mean it's going to work for your application. So if you're not sure, talk to your local dealer, talk to your purchasing dealer, call us. We'll be happy to direct you and use the right product for the right job for sure. What was the question, Bob?
Walter does a lot of his own repairs. Walter is the him and his wife, Donna, the Mass Good Sam directors. So we've got a lot of that. And Walter, let me throw out an idea on you. Randy and I have been talking about this. One of the things Randy and I want to do, since we have such great experience at the consumer shows over the last 5 years, we would like to take the Bob and Randy show on the road and probably to campgrounds. So if we could get some campgrounds that would have a facility available, and there wouldn't be any charge for this. We just believe it's part of our responsibility to do education, but maybe doing one night a week or a couple of times a month, going out to campgrounds and just talking to their campers who are in the campground and answering their questions kind of on the fly like we do. It got to be like an in-person RVing in New England show at the campground. So spread the word on that and send me an email with your recommendations on how we can do that. And hopefully we can get out there and do some of those this summer, because Randy and I are looking forward to it. Not that we need to have something else to add to our calendars, but we are passionate about this industry. We do love what we do, and we love talking to people. Walter says, plastic automotive trim tools are great for removal and denatured alcohol for cleanup. I think you mentioned that in one of your seminars, right?
So I use razor blades, I use sheetrock knives and straight razors and whatever it needs to be to get the job done. If the stuff is on there and it's really good and it's not flaking off, I might even leave some of it, because why disturb, or I might just go over the top of it. So it depends on the situation, but if you do need to remove the old stuff, razor blades work really good. Just be careful and don't cut yourself, obviously. Go do what your mom said and go away from you, not towards you.
All right,
I use mineral spirits to clean up. I'm a big fan. Mineral spirits, we buy it by the 55-gallon drum at a couple of our shops. We use a lot of it. It's a great way to clean caulking, clean those roof seals, many different applications on an RV. And you're not going to rub paint off with it. You're not going to hurt anything with the mineral spirits. Can be purchased at any hardware store. So that's my flavor. But the denatured alcohol does work as well, and that evaporates pretty quickly.
Is one of the problems that we have that some dealers might be doing the PDIs too quickly, and they don't get into stuff like this, because we all walk around the campgrounds, we all see it, and you look at it, and then you mention it to people, and they say, "Oh, nobody mentioned that." Now maybe they weren't paying attention, so we don't want to put all the blame on our dealers. I think there's a tremendous amount. If you're going to own an RV, there is a tremendous amount of personal responsibility that goes with it. And does the industry do a good enough job on making people understand what their responsibilities are? They've sold the unit, they teach you the basics of it, but and this is again one of the reasons why we want to do a road show. But how do we better educate customers when they buy the RVs?
Again, I don't think the greatest job is done at the dealership level. And this is definitely on the owner of the RV. If you get a unit prepped at an RV dealership and they did what they're supposed to do, they run around the RV and they do look for these sealant gaps. And as a whole, the manufacturers do a pretty good job on this. But we do double check it, and we do find some issues on occasion, and we do address them before the trailers leave. But this is something that needs to be done by the consumer, by the end user, religiously, especially living in the Northeast. And this is why this is such a popular seminar in the winter months with us, is because people are thinking about taking them out in the spring. Like right now, we get so much hot and cold and expansion and contraction and movement of the thing when it's just sitting still, water getting in places and then freezing and then warming back up. So really, a customer needs to be proactive, and we do our best at educating them, again, with the videos, and we've got it playing in all our stores and sending out emails through Facebook and things like that. You and I doing what we do, spending the time doing this tonight. The customer really, if they haven't been educated, they definitely should be looking for that education for sure. Because there is things that definitely need to be done by them. That's not going to be prompted by any dealer. They're not going to call you and say, "Hey." Well,
and we promote frequently, Mark and Don Polk at RV Education 101. Their new online training videos are extremely well, as are yours on YouTube. But there is educational material out there that people can do. So I often, when I'm just running through forums at night or watching what people are commenting on several of the Facebook groups that we monitor, I'll put a note on there, see Randy's YouTube on this, or go to our, on RV online training, and here's the, we're forever getting people, how do I back up my trailer and fifth wheel? Man, they're already home. They already bought it. They're home. It's in the driveway, and they're asking the people on Facebook how to back up their trailer. I mean, I love people on Facebook, but
all the pull-through sites were already rented.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, my most popular video, it's over 500,000 views by now, but is backing up an RV.
Yep. Yep. Okay, Greg had a comment. I wasn't avoiding you, Greg. I was going to hold it because we're going to come up to the roof section here soon, but Walter answered it. So Greg said mineral spirits on TPO or EDPM roof. Walter says yes on the roof, no problem, works well at cleanup. So does that apply for both types of roofs, Randy?
So you don't want to get anything petroleum based on that rubber for any length of time, because it will have an adverse effect to the rubber. You'll actually, and I've done it, you'll see the rubber bubble up. So I only want to clean the seals. I only want to clean where I'm going to be caulking, and then I wipe dry immediately. So just so we're clear on that, don't let it hang around. If you've got it on a rag, and I've got videos on this and I explain it all. So if you go to our YouTube channel and go through the service videos, it's all on there. Shows you exactly how to do it, how to clean it. And I go over all this, but don't leave anything with a petroleum-based product, a cleaning agent up on that rubber roof. It doesn't hurt anything on the sidewalls at all. And that's why I like the mineral spirits, because it's a little less aggressive than some of the other stuff out there.
Let's talk, because we're in the season now for them. I guess you call it summarize. We winterize and we summarize, or some people call it de-winterization.
Yeah.
Some people do it themselves, but I never did because I'm clueless when it comes to anything mechanical. Anything beyond the ignition key is a challenge for me. So, but I know how to work the computer, and I get to show up every week. So that's just,
you're better than me.
We all have our pluses and minuses, but. Let's talk a little bit about that summarizing process as to whether or not you're going to do it yourself or have one of our dealers do it.
So on a coach like yours, Bob, it's a little bit more difficult. And you drive a big motor home. You've got a more extensive plumbing system on it than our basic travel trailers and fifth wheels that are out there, which at the end of the day are fairly simple systems. If you want to summarize your unit, which in my world, what summarization means is we want to displace the non-toxic antifreeze that we put in the fall so it wouldn't freeze our plumbing system with fresh water. We just want to push the antifreeze out and get some water in there and flush the system out really well. To start the summarization process, fill that fresh water tank or hook up to city water, and let's go inside and start turning on our faucets and just pushing that antifreeze out and running it into the gray tank right onto the ground, or keep it in the tank if you like. But let's get that water out. But I do have a 5-second rule, and we always get a chuckle during the seminars on this rule. And I was like, everybody know I have a 5-second rule, and no one usually knows unless they've attended one of my seminars.
Yeah, where were you when I needed it? And by the way, I have a park model lawn, not the big motorhomes. I got the easiest thing of all. I just have the guys in the campground come and summarize. I don't do anything. I don't have to touch that stuff. But the first time I heard your 5-second rule, I had to laugh because nobody ever taught me that, number one. And number two, I screwed up several times. So did you freeze up?
The joke is a second mess.
All right, you're frozen.
The joke is a 5-second mess is a lot easier to clean up.
Okay, Randy, start over again if you would, because you froze up. And sometimes it happens during the broadcast. You froze up and your voice was breaking up.
So the joke is that a 5-second mess is a lot easier to clean up than a 5-minute mess.
So explain that theory to them.
So, and I've fallen prey for this. Most of the stuff I talk about is mistakes that I have done. So I've learned by my mistakes, which most guys do that, as any lady will tell you. If I turn the water on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I shut it off and I go inside the camper, and I'm going to look underneath every sink. I'm going to look in the lavatory. I'm going to look around for water on the ground, water coming out from underneath, anywhere that there's a water outlet. Just to make sure if it wasn't winterized appropriately, by turning that water on the outside and getting caught up, taking a phone call, getting on Facebook, whatever, I don't allow water to just run, freely inside the coach. So I can fix the problem. I can clean up a mess. So the 5-second rule is a good rule of thumb when you first put water to your coach in the spring. That's
good. That's a good one. All right, I'm going to drop summarize down, and because people all, I've seen so many of your seminars, and this question keeps coming up, and it's one that veterans know a lot about, but talk about the formula for cleaning out your water tank after you've done that and getting it all freshed up again. And then you've got another product here that I'm going to put up there. So talk about those.
So when water sits around, so I think everybody remembers, and I kind of talk about this in the seminar, everybody remembers going to the doctor as a kid when they thought you had strep throat, and they shoved that Q-tip down your throat till you coughed, and then they put it in a little Petri dish, and they shoved it in a warm, dark space. Well, your water tanks in your RVs are warm, dark spaces, so they're perfect breeding grounds for black algae, mold, anything that can be bred that we contaminate our water systems with by getting water from all sorts of different places. We want to be able to sanitize our water systems. I used to think a lot differently. I'm a dad now. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I love my daughter to death. She loves to go camping with me. So now I think a little bit differently. I'm like, man, maybe I should sanitize my system. And it just makes a lot more sense. So in the old days, before we had all this stuff, so the only time we used to do it in the old days is when the water system sat around so bad it stunk that so bad you couldn't get rid of the odor. So we would throw a quarter cup of bleach in the freshwater holding tank. We'd fill the holding tank halfway first. We'd mix up some bleach, about a quarter cup, into a gallon jug, and we'd dump it down in there, and then we'd continue to fill up the tank. And we would run every faucet till we smelled chlorine, let it sit for 3 or 4 hours, and then flush the system until we couldn't smell the chlorine anymore. That killed everything. That wasn't so great for our seals and our packings. Bleach is pretty corrosive stuff. Chlorine's pretty corrosive stuff in the RV world, in the fixtures that we use in the RV world. So I recommend the Sprung Fresh. This is a product that we sell. There's many different products out there that do the same thing. But this is specifically designed for the RV world. It actually even has some lubrication effects in it for those packings and faucets and things like that. But if you can't get a hold of this, the proper stuff, the gallon or the quarter cup of bleach to 40 gallons, and why I say 40 gallons is that's a typical freshwater holding tank size, we'll get it done for you.
Okay. I think we have a member of your fan club that showed up.
Hey, Matt, how's it going, Fluff? Matt actually works for us down at our Plainville location. He's a great guy.
Oh, down on just south of Foxborough, Schaefer, right, Patriot Stadium there.
Yeah. Yep.
Right on Route 1. Yeah, good group of guys down there. Al Jackson says that makes a lot of sense. Just added that to my opening checklist. So I think he's talking about the bleach in the water purification, or he may be talking about the 5-second rule. Actually, he's been there for a couple of minutes, so he's probably talking about the 5-second rule. So we get another convert on the 5-second rule. Let me do another commercial, Randy. While we try to do them at 20 and 40, so I'm going to drop those two down. I'm going to bring up my other one, and while I do that, I won't bore you with the words that go along with that. But if you would, in fact, share what we have going. So our sponsor this week is Flag RV in Uxbridge and West Boylston, Mass. And the contest is open on our Facebook page. In fact, it's pinned to the top of the page. If you enter our contest, you can have the chance to win a $100 gift certificate redeemable at their parts and accessory stores, either in Uxbridge or West Boylston, both that have been recently done over, and they're fantastic. Good group of guys, the Flag family, and they're waiting to serve you down there. You can use that gift certificate in the parts and accessory store. You can use it towards service requirements, get your unit summarized, or you can put it towards a new RV. So we can do that. All right, so let me pull that down. And what did we have after? Okay, let's talk about appliances and smells. So let's talk about those two. Again, I think they go together, Randy. I kind of threw all these things in there and tried to take a clip of what you sent me.
You did a great job. So, and these do both go together. So what I like people to do, in the reason I brought this up in the seminar was I take phone calls every year on the first weekend of camping or the Labor Day, the first big weekend of camping, or when the campgrounds first open up. Someone will call me up on Saturday. Our pager goes off. We do carry a pager. And my furnace doesn't work, or my hot water heater doesn't work. I'm I was like, okay, well, it worked when you took it out of storage, right? And they're like, well, this is the first time I'm trying it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute, you took your camper directly out of storage, paid a bunch of money to go camping, threw your kids in it, and brought them to the campground, and you weren't sure if things worked? I really recommend that people try their systems out before they head out camping. And I get it. Life gets in the way. We're very busy. There's always something going on. Baseball games, kids in school, jobs. I mean, trust me, I work like 80 plus hours a week. I get it. But I can help you if I have some time. So if you tell me that your furnace isn't working, and when we're camping right now, it's still getting cold at night, right? Your wife's not going to be very happy with you, or your husband, whoever's in charge of getting the camper out in the spring. You know, the kids probably won't care as much, but when it gets cold, I mean, cold's not a lot of fun overnight. And you can't just go into the house because you don't have your house with you. You have your house with you that doesn't have a heater. Try the stuff out before you go camping. And if you do it a week or 3 weeks or a month, even better, that way we can probably get you in for service. Or if a part needs to be ordered, if you're going to fix it yourself, we have time to get that. But when you call me on Saturday, the first weekend of camping, or on a big camping weekend in the beginning of the season, it's very, very hard to help you out because my resources are now very thin because of everything else going on. And so the sooner you get this, check this stuff out and make sure everything's working appropriately, the better. Because if something's not, the more time we have to help you, any dealer at this time of year in the Northeast, not just Pete's RV, the more time we have to help you, the better we're going to be able to help you. And when I do fire my appliances, I listen and smell. And we kind of joke about this in the seminars as well. I was like, if I asked you, Bob, you probably couldn't tell me what your furnace sounded like last year, but if it sounded different this year than last year, you'd be able to identify it. Especially if there's a bunch of acorns rolling around in the squirrel cage inside that furnace, right? So, which means I have to remove the furnace and I have to cap off gas lines. I have to take your furnace apart, clean all the debris out of it, whatever built a nest in there, make sure it's good, sanitize it, put it back in. So it can be done, but with some can help, really a tough order to help anybody out in that situation. Not that we don't want to, because I always want to help everybody, but in the real world, or the reality of it, it's impossible to combat all of that. So please test your appliances well before you head out the first time. That way we can.
And if they're not going to do that, take it back to the dealer. But now the weather's good. Call them up now. Don't wait till Memorial Day weekend. Get it in there and have them do it. Exactly. I was doing a video last week. I was doing a video at Major's RV Service Center down in Bourne. And I'm talking to Jeff, and we're doing the video. We get all done, and Chris comes out of the service bay, and he's got a tray from a generator with him. And they were doing a pre-season check for the customer. There was 5 dead squirrel babies in the generator.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't want to find that out Memorial Day weekend on Friday night.
No, you never want to find that out, but at least it's at a dealer and you don't need it.
So they can get in there and they can do damage.
Absolutely.
If you're not going to check it out, get somebody that is.
That's another great thing to bring up that I don't bring up in my seminars, because I'm typically talking travel trailer fifth wheel. But generators, a lot of damage can happen if you try to start a generator in the situation that he was in. Because when that flywheel kicks in and that motor tries to start, you've got armatures and magnets and a lot of different things going on and tight tolerances. When we enter foreign material in there, these can be broken and damaged, and it's super expensive to repair this stuff. So you're best off to look at that generator and inspect it and look for any foreign material that was brought into it during the storage months and get that removed before you start that generator in the springtime.
Okay, we got about 15 minutes left, because I try not to go over an hour. So let's go to tires, and then we're going to go right into running gear.
Yeah. So in the state of Vermont, we have what we call a state inspection, and I believe they have it in Massachusetts as well. Connecticut and Rhode Island, I don't believe they do.
Yep.
New Hampshire does on vehicles, but I'm not sure if they do on travel trailers. But what we do in the state inspection in the state of Vermont is we look for things that may not make your vehicle safe to go down the road. So we look at the tires. We're going to talk about running gear in a minute. Tires, the biggest killer of tires is sun. So make sure you cover your tires. Keep them out of the direct sunlight. Keep them off a wet lawn for long periods of time. If you're going to park your RV on the lawn, Park it on some boards because moisture. Tires have waxes, oils, and polymers in them that need to be distributed, and they get distributed throughout the tire as we're rolling that tire down the road. When we park our campers for long periods of time, those waxes, oils, and polymers are not being distributed appropriately, and they're actually being dried out, showing the cracking like it's on these pictures today. And the one on the left there, Bob, which is a really bad picture, that guy obviously had a big problem, which could have been avoided if the tire was inspected before they rolled it down the road, and if the tire was maintained properly, i.e. by covering it with something when it was not in use. We don't have this problem with our passenger vehicles because we roll those around. We drive them to work. We're parking them in different places all the time, so they're not in direct sunlight all the time. Where I park RVs on my property, it takes southern exposure on one side of the camper for about 8-10 hours a day. So super important to check these tires before we start rolling them down the road at highway speeds with our families in the vehicle, and everybody around you is in danger as well. If you lose a tire going down the road at 65, 70 miles an hour, it's not going to be a fun trip.
Okay.
Running gear and wheel bearings. So another thing that is really important, and these are things that we check, and again, as part of our state inspection in the states that have state inspection. And if you don't live in one of those states, I recommend having something like this done every couple of years, at least once every 2 years. Once a year would be optimal. The oil that we see on this wheel bearing here in the center, now the oil is protruding out. We use high temperature bearing grease in these things, but over a period of time, living in the mountainous regions that we live in, we use a lot of bearing, and when that bearing grease breaks down, we get exactly what we see here. And what happens is now the bearings are not protected, and they can have a failure, which I've actually seen bearings that have seized up and welded themselves to the spindles, and we can lose a wheel. So really important that we get the wheel bearings checked definitely twice, every 2 years. And if you can do it once a year, just have them checked for play. And if there's some play in them, then we can go ahead and combat that. Packing with your bearing buddies is not the cure-all. That is just maintenance. You still need to get these wheel bearings checked, and you will need to get them repacked on occasion. And I do recommend every 2 years with normal RV use. If you're using your RV more than 8 times a year and hauling it a couple hours from home, do it every year.
Okay, so we got a couple more here. Why won't that go down? There we go. Here we go. Running gear. Oh, okay. Let's talk about
lubes or rack slides. So we have 3 types of slide outs in the industry that are very prevalent nowadays. We have the old standard through frame or the rack slide, which looks like this. So this slide's driven from underneath the slide out, and there's actually metal bars that go through the frame to the opposite side of the trailer to support the weight of the slide as it goes out. I recommend using a little bit of white lithium grease on this, or some dry lube that can be purchased at your local RV dealer. And just do the wheels there, the pack. You don't need to do the cut teeth or the straight cut teeth that are above. All that's going to do is collect dust and dirt. But if we put a little bit of grease on those that roller wheel there, that keeps everything moving freely. After you've greased it, run the slide out in and out a couple times, and you will be good for the year. Especially for the people that are in seasonal situations, that the slides usually go out in the spring and come back in the fall. So now we've exposed all this all summer long with lawn and all sorts of moisture underneath this. I've had to go free up slide outs that have been frozen because they've rusted in place. The Schwintek slide out, or the in-wall slide, is the one that has aluminum rods on either side of the slide box, high and low, that have a cut, kind of a squiggly line in them. We just want to keep those clean. No lubrication on those. And on the cable-driven slides, we want to make sure they have proper tension. If you can move that cable more than about an inch up or down from center, that slide out, those cables need to be tightened.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Running gear slides. I know this is one of your favorites because you get a lot of reaction on this one, especially when they consider trading it in, right?
Exactly. So I've had this conversation with customers that have brought me campers that were like 6, 7, 8 years old, that were immaculate inside. I mean, you could have eaten off the floor. I mean, they took such good care of the inside of their unit. It looked brand new, but the outside looked like the sticker that we see here to the left of you because they did not wax their unit. Now, one of the least fun things to me, other than dumping the black tank, is waxing a unit, because you don't have any idea how much real estate is on your camper until you touch every square inch of it. And there's waxes that you can buy that come out of a garden hose, but that's more of a maintenance thing. I'm talking Ralph Macchio, Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Let's get some wax on there. Pay your nephew to do it. Have the neighbor kid do it. Or, again, put on a ball game, grab a couple of adult beverages, and let the sun chase you around the camper. You don't have to do it all at once. Do it in quadrants. Do one side one weekend. Do the back and the front the next weekend. Break it up a little bit. But if you wax your camper, your gutters filled with wax, it's going to be a lot easier to clean, a lot easier to get the black streaks off, and your decals are going to stay longer. Don't wax the unit. So I definitely recommend to keep the value up on your camper, keep it looking good, and make it easy to clean. If you can wax that here, you're going to be in the benefit. You're going to benefit from it. Here's another one. This camper here came out of Southern California, and it was a toy hauler, and you can see what happened to the decals on that. The only thing that's left is the adhesion.
Now, waxing will help with those black streaks.
It sure will, and with the bugs as well. So if anybody's ever driven through Syracuse, I think they have because they take those first. A good coat of wax, they come usually for lunch. But if you wax your camper, the black streaks come off. It's just much easier and give it some longevity, and it'll be worth more at the end of the day.
There's a million products on the market for black streaks. Do you have a favorite while I change over to the next topic? Do you have a favorite that you like to recommend to people?
We cam wax black streak room. We also have very
say that again.
They're all about the same thing. We sell a Camco wax and grease remover. Okay.
A Camco. Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. Are you frozen again? Can you hear me all right, Randy?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, you're frozen on the screen, but go ahead and talk about treating the roof, which Greg had earlier. Greg says wax on decals or 303 protectant. Some say wax dries out the decals. Can you answer that one for Greg?
Read the instructions on the an RV dealer. They're going to carry stuff made for our industry. I recommend. I wouldn't go to my local. Thing other than, again, go to your see what they're recommending for waxing.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, so I'm not sure if we're going to lose you soon. But I did just put up the treating the roof, which Greg had talked about earlier, in the picture on the roof. If you can hear us, can you comment on that, Randy?
Absolutely. Oh, great.
No, you're there. I can hear
you. So, picture really dark and dingy, and been taken care of or really whatsoever. Now, we mentioned 12-year guarantees on them. If I have a problem with a roof, and it happens very rarely because the rubber submitted a picture that looked like this to their warranty department, they would laugh at me. So by treating the roof, by washing it and giving it a use from just on your you're going to do well by the camper rubber, and the camper is going to have better value when you go to trade it in. When I do a trade inspection and I see a roof like this, I start looking a lot closer at this camper. I know it wasn't maintained because I can tell.
Okay, we're going to drop those two down because we're getting pretty close to the end of the show, and we don't practice these things and we don't script them, but amazingly we come up to the last 3 minutes of the show and we have your last two slides.
And last but not least, let's go camping. Let's go out and have fun with it. Is the reason spending time with our families and having fun is the reason we bought these things. I enjoy it myself, even with working the crazy hours I do. Take these things out, have fun with families, and that's it at the end of the day for me.
Yep, there's no better way to enjoy the family or your friends or your loved ones, and sitting around the campfire having that adult beverage that you talked about, and maybe a meal or a hot dog over the campfire. It's what we all live for, and thankfully it's coming that way now. We're getting extra hours in the day. The campgrounds are opening. The service departments are full. Any closing comments, Randy? That you'd like to say to our viewers tonight? And we thank you for joining in. And don't forget our contest. And what would you like to say at the end? Did we lose you? Can't hear you, Randy. All right, I think we may have stretched the limits of the hotel internet over there. Can you hear me, Randy? Just shake your head. All right, I don't think Randy can hear us, but we are right at the end of our hour. I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and look forward to joining you next week at the 24th. And April is quickly disappearing for us, but don't forget, April is RV month in New England. So scroll down, enter the contest, scroll down, and look at all the videos that we've done, what our deal is this week. And thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you next week. And Randy, if you can hear me, good night, and we'll catch up to you down the road.